Hi everyone, welcome to our video on how to upgrade your Falcon controller to the latest version of firmware that supports the new smart receivers. To make use of the new smart receivers from Pixel Controller, you will need to update the firmware on your F4, F16 or F48. This is a quick video to guide you through how that is done. We will be demonstrating this on a Windows laptop and a Falcon F16 running version 2.01. Before you begin, you will need to make sure you have a PC or laptop connected to the internet or the ability to get the new firmware from pixelcontroller.com, a micro SD card with a maximum size of 32 gig and either a slot on your PC to put it in or a card reader that is attached to your PC. Finally, a Falcon controller to upgrade. It will need power to be able to do the update and you will want it network accessible. If you have all these things, then we can begin. First up, you need to insert your micro SD card into your PC or laptop. If it has files on it, like our example here, you will need to either copy them off or be prepared to lose them, as it is best to format the card. In this case, we are happy to lose these files. To format the card, you can either use the Windows Format tool or something like SD Card Formatter. Whilst it is recommended you use SD Card Formatter for things like FPP, for the upgrade of your F16, the Windows tool is more than adequate. You format the card like this. Note that it is set to use FAT32. This is the important thing to note. The rest doesn't really matter. Open the SD card from Explorer and you can see the card is empty. Now the card is ready to receive the firmware update files. To get the new firmware, you can visit www.pixelcontroller.com. Then browse to Support, Products, then to the controller you own. In our case here, the F16. Once in the F16 page, you can see the instructions on how to carry out this procedure and also a link to the files needed. If you click on the link to the files, your browser should start to download the zip file containing the firmware. Some browsers, you may need to right-click on the link, then Save Target As, but Chrome and Firefox should just start to download automatically like this. Once downloaded, you can click on the zip file, which will open it. As you can see inside, there are 3 files: a bootloader, the firmware, and another copy of the instructions. All we are going to do here is drag the bootloader and the firmware across to the SD card like this. Depending on how your operating system is configured, or if you are using a third-party archiving program, you may need to extract the files to your SD card instead. To check the files are on the SD card, just double-click it from Explorer and you should see the 2 files there. Now this part is complete, we can move to the controller to back up your settings. We are going to make the assumption you already know how to get to your F16's web interface by going to the IP address on the F16 screen. In our case here, the IP is 192.168.74.168. The only thing we need to do at this point is to back up your settings, such as your string port settings, so that they can be restored later, as part of the update process requires a factory reset. To back up your settings on the status page, you will see a link called Save Settings. Click this and your settings will download to your Downloads folder. Some browsers will do this on click, as it does here. Others may ask if you want to open or save. We suggest you save as opposed to open. Once you have downloaded your settings, we can move on to updating the controller. The first thing we are going to do is power off the controller. For the purposes of this demo, we are providing power by one of the Pixel ports to make this demo quick and easy. You will probably be powering from V2 or from the dedicated power port. You can power down by switching off your PSU. Once the F16 is off, hold in the select button and then restore power whilst holding the button. The controller should display a message stating a reset is occurring. Power off the board again. Place the micro SD card into the controller. Note the way the SD card goes in with the contacts facing the screen. and restore power. The bootloader will be loaded. This process may take a while. The screen will prompt to remove the SD card and power down, then power up. A message saying load FL2 firmware in the future will appear, at which point we will power off the board again. Whilst the board is off, we will replace the SD card and restore power. The new firmware will load and then tell you to remove the SD card and power off and then on again. At which point the firmware upgrade is complete. You can now go to your controller in the web UI and restore your settings. To restore your settings, you will need to go to the status page on the F16 and click Load Settings. Browse to where you saved your settings file to, select the file and click OK. The settings will now load and you can see your original config restored. We won't go into this now, but as part of this update, you will get lots of new functionality built into the firmware. ZCPP, player mode, and much more. This will be covered under another video. We hope you found this useful.